Hello. Hey guys, welcome back to Critical African Thinkers. As you know, this is a place where we examine everything under the microscope of logic to ascertain what is most factual and logically consistent. So, today we're just going to be talking about Dave Rubin and Ben Shapiro. Right? Yes.
Look at you.
So, today we're going to be talking about Dave Rubin and Ben Shapiro. Right? For Dave Rubin, he just can't get dense
Are
enough.
you talking to you?
All right, I'm back. Guess my daughter wanted to join me on this live stream. Anyway, as I was saying, today's stream, Dave Rubin can't get dense enough, and we're just going to talk about some of the kind of hypocritical things that Ben Shapiro has been doing of late, right? But before we get into that, I just want to remind us of my novel, like my crime fiction novel, which is still on Amazon. Some of you have gotten it, and a whole lot of you haven't gotten it. And it's a very, very interesting read. I think you should go get it. So let me just show my screen, share my screen to show it. And you know, I'm also working on releasing collection of my collection of poems. It's going to be coming out on the 1st of June, but it's open for pre-order now. So this is my novel, Hotel Shendam. So it's basically essentially a crime fiction novel, but it also features an interesting debate on race and colonialism, trying to see things from different perspective, right? And it makes a lot of sense. And if you look at this comment here, um, from those who have read it, right? This comment says a fun, thought provoking, very fair presentation of ideas set in an area of the world where, as an American, I had no familiarity. So I think a whole lot of you would enjoy it. And you can see the star rating 3 star, 4 star. So it's a good book, right? You should go check it out. You should check it out. And the link is in the description of this video, right? Now the back to my okay, let me just stop sharing this and share the poems I said it's going to come out by the first of June, right? So it's just a collection of poems that I have written, and I just term them fairy tales, right? So it just details my experiences. You know, I used to write a lot of poems, and when I'm in, it's a way of capturing my emotions at any particular point in time. When something happens, when something interesting happens, I just put it down as a form of poetry, right? Although I don't write much poems anymore, but I have I think this has 28 poems in it, and I think you should get it as well. It's open for pre-order now, but it's going to be fully launched by the 1st of June. So, guys, please check it out. Check it out. Harry says we'll do. That's good. Thank you very much, Harry. So, Now let's get to the conversation of today, right? The conversation of today, Dave Rubin. You know, Dave Rubin is a very funny person. You know, in a meritocratic society, that guy should be flipping burgers. But the fact that he is controlling that much wealth, right, just shows that the idea of quote unquote meritocracy is kind of a myth. Now, don't get me wrong, I like the idea of meritocracy. I like the idea that people who are the best get the job, right? But in practice, that's not what happens, right? That's why people like you know, Dave Rubin can be very, very successful saying very, very dumb shit, right? And I'm just going to highlight it with a couple of things that he has said of late, right? And we're going to analyze it, look at it together, and then we're going to move over to Ben Shapiro and his alleged hypocrisy, right? So share let me just play. I'll play two clips and try to give my thoughts on those two clips from Dave Rubin before we move on. So this is the first clip, right?
But anyway, I thought it was worth covering because if you haven't seen it, I mean, this sort of thing is why it's important to have the best engineers, the best builders, the best everything building infrastructure. I don't know that there was anything unsound with the bridge itself, but when you watch something like that collapse, it's like we should have the best building all of our stuff. And I think you can already see where I'm going with this, that once you allow that woke thing, and I'm not saying this has anything to do with that specifically, but once you will decide, okay, we won't hire the best of the best to build our planes or build our bridges or build our buildings or our roads or whatever else, then bad things are going to happen. But anyway, I thought it was.
So for context, this was Dave Rubin's reaction to the collapse of the Baltimore Bridge when the ship ran into it, right? This was his response. And he was saying, oh, this is the reason why we need to have the best of the builders, the best of this. And I'm like, okay, how exactly does that relate to the fact that the ship rammed into the bridge? I mean, was it the fact that you didn't have the best engineers? That's why the bridge collapsed? If you had the best engineers building that bridge, would the bridge not have collapsed with the ship running into it? So it didn't make any sense that he would even bring up something like that. But I understand what he's doing, right? These guys have only very few talking points. So they try as much as possible to to rehash it every time they have an opportunity. They just say the same thing over and over again. This anti-woke stuff, right? Yeah, the woke people, yeah, they have their issues, they're crazy and all that. But when you have built your persona around being anti-woke, you yourself you begin to go mad as well, because you're so limited, you're so focused on this very specific narrow issue that it's blinding you from seeing other things, that everything is now seen through the prism of anti-wokeness, right? It's the same thing that's been happening to Jordan Peterson. It's just looking at everything boils down to woke. Everything boils down to woke. Even things that have no bearing whatsoever, like this case, this had no bearing whatsoever to do with wokeness. There was no reason to even invoke wokeness in the first place. But those are the talking points that they have. They're not creative. They can't imagine a world where they are not engaged in this anti-woke nonsense, right? So that was the first thing, right? It didn't make any sense, right? Yeah, you have the best engineers. Even if you had the best engineers building that bridge, the fact that you had a ship ramming into it, so it was going to collapse anyway, right? So now the second clip I'm going to play of Dave Rubin. This one, he was talking about COVID. He was talking about masks mandates, and he was talking about the current protests that they're having in America, right? And his big idea is that somehow the COVID was a dress rehearsal for a jihadi takeover of America. And I'm like, okay, so let me just play it, and then we'll take it from there.
Who knows how many of those people are actually students? They're all masked. And I firmly believe now that COVID was just a test run to see how we could normalize masks so we could have jihadists out in the streets. We don't know how many of them are, as I said, students, but how many of them are even citizens of the United States. And just try to imagine for just 1 second, if this was a group of white students screaming about black people, or if this was MAGA supporters burning down things at Columbia, Joe Biden would literally send in the National Guard, right? But the left does not know when the left goes too far.
So, what he's saying here is that the fact that the protesters are having masks, right? Or those who are protesting Israel's campaign in Gaza currently, they are wearing masks. What he's saying is that COVID was a dress rehearsal for this. He's saying those guys are jihadists, right? So the COVID-19 pandemic, and everyone masking off, the mask mandates was a dress rehearsal so that this protest can happen. Jihadists can be masks and take over America. Do you see how stupid that sounds? Right? If that theory is true, then it means that Hamas had to have been in on this conspiracy, right? They have to have known about or they have to have planned their attacks, years ahead, to say, you know what, let's unleash a pandemic, right? Let's unleash a pandemic so that people can get used to wearing masks. Then we're going to attack Israel on October 7th, and then after that, when Israel responds, we're going to have jihadists go to American universities, and they're going to be masked, and they're going to be protesting. I mean, how dumb does that sound? How stupid does that sound? But this is something that a full grown man thinks is plausible, that the mask mandates were a test run, for a pandemic that killed millions of people. Some people are still thinking that it's some kind of conspiracy. No, we can say that the way the COVID-19 pandemic was handled, was shoddy. There were some, it could have been better, right? But that disease was real. It did kill people. It did kill people. And to think that the whole essence of it killing millions of people is so that jihadists, so that masks will be so normalized now, and then jihadists can use that opportunity to take over America or take over American universities. Sounds so ridiculous. But these are the sort of things that Dave Rubin believes. These are the sort of things that Dave Rubin believes. And then the other part is that, he said something about, if this were a group of white people saying something about black people, somehow they always have to bring black people into their conversations. I don't know why. And then he said, what if there was a group of white people protesting, that the National Guard would have been sent? But we literally had a group of white people protesting, and the National Guard was not deployed, right? In fact, Tucker Carlson referred to it as tourists, right? January 6th. What was that? What was January 6th? These guys literally wanted to overturn an election, right? They did not want the election to be ratified. They went in there, they broke things. In fact, the police literally escorted them into the building. So if what Dave Rubin is saying is true, if white people gathering to protest and the rest was going to be met with violence, then there should have been a lot of violence from the police and from the National Guard on January 6th. But there wasn't. Only one person was killed. There wasn't. So I don't know what the hell is blabbing on about. But these are the kind of theories that someone like Dave Rubin would just be spouting, right? It literally makes no sense that someone like Dave Rubin is that successful. The dude is so dense. Like, yeah. Anyway, that's Dave Rubin, right? Going on to the other part of this conversation, which has to do with Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens, right? We all know about the whole Ben Shapiro Candace Owens saga, right? Right. When all these things were happening, and Candace Owens she was making those statements, she was having altercations with Ben Shapiro, and she was still in the Daily Wire. I was sort of impressed by the Daily Wire. I was impressed by the fact that, okay, this was an organization which was partly owned by a Jewish person, a Jewish man, and then this was someone working for them who was saying some things that the Jewish man was not very, very comfortable with. And then, they were not censoring her. She was still able to say what she wanted to say on her show. I really gave the props up to the Daily Wire for that. Then Candace Owens was fired, right? And when Ben Shapiro was asked why she was fired, the answer he gave was ridiculous. So I'm just going to I'm going to play I'm going to play the answer that he gave, and it just seemed ridiculous, right? So All right. So back. Uh, yeah, there was a little hitch. Back to Ben Shapiro and his answer, right? So the thing is, what's that smirk about? Why is he why is he smiling that way? And he's not going to say something about why one of the biggest person on their platform was fired, right? And this is the Daily Wire is acting so sneaky. They're acting so sneaky with this affair, right? When the Crowder affair happened, they were so open. They came out, the Jeremy Boring did the whole video to, explain what happened. But somehow, with the firing of Candace Owens, nothing of substance is being said that this is why she was fired. And Ben Shapiro goes on to say that um, that they don't that they being an organization, they have that they have no obligation of keeping someone who is saying something that's contrary to the you know the beliefs or whatever of the organization. That, oh, they are not a platform, they are, I think I'll just play it and we can get it from there. Yeah. Okay, not this one. Yeah, this one.
Can I ask why?
I mean, you can ask.
No, I'm not. You can ask why you don't want to say anything.
Again, you can ask.
I'm only curious because I know what a staunch defender of free speech you are, and it would surprise me if it had been someone's opinions that would make you want to part company with them. However contentious.
Suffice it to say, the only thing I will say is what I've said all along with regard to Candace or with regard to any of our other hosts. I am not in hiring and firing position with the Daily Wire. I'm a co-founder of the Daily Wire. I'm a co-owner of the Daily Wire. I'm not actually in management. Jeremy Boring and Caleb Robinson are in management positions with regard to Candace or anyone else. And as far as the free speech situation, what I will say is that no company has the obligation to literally pay anyone. The Daily Wire is a publisher. It is not a platform. I've never called for Candace or anyone else for that matter to be banned from YouTube, to be banned from X, to be banned from any platform. That's a different story. Obviously, when it comes to any publisher gets to make decisions about what it wishes to purvey and not.
I mean, I'm just not going to labor this, but one more point I would make.
But this point that Ben Shapiro just made, what's the difference? I mean, so a publisher has the right to not allow certain viewpoints on their whatever, but a platform doesn't have that right. So a platform like YouTube has to allow all kinds of opinions, but a publisher like the Daily Wire can decide what opinions they want to allow. That seems like a double standard to me. That seems, I mean, remember when they were saying, oh, Twitter was just a left wing space, right wingers were being, they were being censored on Twitter, right? This is the same argument that Twitter could have used, right? That they, as a platform, they have the right to decide what sort of information they want to allow on their platform. And Ben Shapiro would have been against that. Ben Shapiro would have ripped that apart and say, no, it's free speech. You have to allow all sorts of things. But here he is saying that the publisher can decide what they want on their platform. So these guys are not really for free speech. These guys are only for speech that they like. They are for speech that they want, right? They are not for free speech. They are ready to, they are ready to stifle speech that they don't like. And it makes me incredibly sad that it seems as if I'm taking the side of Candace Owens, who is an utterly despicable person, right? But in this instance, right, Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire, they are utterly wrong, right? The funny thing is, Ben Shapiro never had an issue with Candace Owens before, when she was saying all the bigoted things about Black people, when she was saying all the bigoted things about women, right? If she saw a plane with a woman pilot, that she would be scared, right? When Charlie Kirk came out with his own racist remark about Black people, she wanted to up the ante to say, well, if Charlie Kirk can say that about Black people, she could say this about women. And that comment that she made about Hitler, the comment where she was essentially defending Hitler. Let me look for that. This thing I just played. Right. Ben Shapiro had no issues whatsoever with Candace Owens
I
all
actually
that
don't
while.
have any problems at all with the word nationalism. I think that it gets the definition gets poisoned by elitists that actually want globalism. Globalism is what I don't want. So when you think about whenever we say nationalism, the first thing people think about, in at least in America, is Hitler. You know, he was a national socialist, but if Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine. The problem is that he had dreams outside of Germany. He wanted to globalize. He wanted everybody to be German, everybody to be speaking German, everybody to look a different way. That's not, to me, that's not nationalism.
The sheer amount of ignorance and stupidity that is just contained in this 30 seconds clip is astonishing. That Hitler's problem was him wanting to be a globalist. Like if Hitler just wanted to be a nationalist, then even she wouldn't have had problems with him. Hitler was not in any sense a globalist. Hitler did not want everyone to speak German. Hitler wanted to create room for the German people. He wanted to create more living space for the German people. He was not looking to making everyone to become German. No, Jews were not going to become a part of, minorities were never going to become a part of Hitler's Germany. Jews, gypsies, black people, the Slavs, what have you, they were never going to be a part of Hitler's Germany. The criteria was not that everybody starts speaking German. No. So Hitler was not a globalist in any sense. He was a nationalist. And his nationalism was actually the root cause of, it was the driving force behind every evil thing that Hitler did, right? So even if Hitler did not, even if he did not take Poland or annex Austria and try to take over the Soviet Union, he would he would still have killed the Jews because he believed that the Jews were a foreign element, that they were not racially pure, they were not racially Germans. So his nationalism was, for the German people. That was exactly the problem with Hitler, his nationalism. And nationalism is usually, they arise in within a context of people already living within the same geographical area. One group thinking that, okay, this country belongs to us, other people are foreigners, so they have to leave. So there is, in a way, a problem with nationalism. So Candace is thinking that, oh, there is something like American nationalism, but nah. In the eyes of quote and unquote those who are pro, nationalism, they are looking at, oh, this is a white country. We don't want brown people. We don't want this sort of people. That's the idea. It's not to be inclusive. So Ben Shapiro never had any issues with any of this. He never had issues with Candace Owens and all the vitriolic things that she said, to George Floyd, about George Floyd. Yeah, not minding the fact that, yeah, George Floyd was a criminal and all those, yada yada yada. But he didn't deserve to be killed the way he was killed. He did not deserve. That is why you have, in a functional society, that's why you have, the courts of law. That's why you have due process, right? So for Candace Owens to say, oh, because George Floyd was a criminal, then he deserved to die in that manner, it's utterly despicable. To have no sympathy whatsoever for someone who was murdered in that manner is just despicable, right? So yeah, that's it's crazy. It's crazy that the funny thing is, it also came out that while Ben Shapiro was trying to, there was this debate that was supposed to happen between Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens, which has never materialized. While he was publicly engaged in that negotiation behind doors, he was putting a gag order on Candace Owens. That Candace Owens cannot, essentially cannot speak. So I'll just play that too. I'll just play that. Yep. Yeah.
Crystal, take it away.
Yeah,
This is about
so this
Candace
is
Owens and Ben
interesting. So you
Shapiro.
guys will recall Candace Owens fired from Daily Wire over it. I mean, she had voiced legitimately, I would say, anti-Semitic things, but the thing that really got her fired was when she was consistently critical of the Israeli government. After she's fired, I don't know if you guys follow this, there was a whole back and forth between her and Jeremy Boring and Shapiro about like, all right, let's debate, right? And there was some negotiation about when and how and whatever. And it seemed like there was an agreement about timing and, you know, structure and no moderation and all this stuff, but the debate never happened. So people have been going, well, what the hell happened here? Why didn't this debate happen? Well, Glenn Greenwald got the scoop. Apparently, the Daily Wire, while they were publicly pretending like they wanted to do this debate with Candace, they were privately using a private arbitrator to issue a gag order against her so that she can't say anything. And by the way, and so that's the real reason the debate hasn't happened, is because they issued a gag order against her. And by the way, in obtaining this gag order, the things that they cited as her, they said, okay, she had a non-disparagement agreement. She violated that. And what they used as evidence of her violating it was that she had publicly asked for a debate. And then she had liked some tweets that were critical of the Daily Wire. That was their case.
That's
for
enough to get a gag
how
order?
she had disparaged them, and yes, that they used in order to get a gag order.
So that's just utterly despicable behavior from the Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro, right? Where you're saying you want to have a debate publicly, you're posturing that you want to have a debate with someone, but then behind the scenes you are trying to stifle that person's speech. And this just goes back to the point I made earlier about these right-wingers and conservatives. They don't want free speech. They don't actually like free speech. They want speech that they like to be protected. They want speech that they want to, to be out there. So they'll pretend to be for free speech because they feel that the left has all the power, the Democrats have all the power. But when they do have the power, they are going to do exactly the same thing that they were complaining about. Hey, Stanley, welcome to the conversation. How are you doing? Stanley, you're muted.
My bad.
Yeah, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you all?
Good. Decided to do a show after a while. So, what are your thoughts on the topics so far? Starting with Dave Rubin, Dave the Big Brain Rubin.
Dave Rubin. We've kind of known about Dave Rubin for a while. I don't think that he necessarily believes everything he says, but I think both he and, Candace Owens, to use two examples, I mean, they're just meeting their audience's, expectations, give the people what they want. And, I've kind of said this before. I don't think the problem is Dave Rubin. I think the problem is his audience. And I know that is kind of counterintuitive. Dave Rubin he's not smart enough to actually move people's opinions. He is someone who is basically meeting a demand.
But how does it sleep at night? How do people like that sleep at night, knowing that what they are saying, they understand that what they're saying is rubbish? Like, they're just saying it for the
They
audience.
sleep just fine. The thing is, the weird quirk of democracy, and it's always been this way. In theory, elected leaders are supposed to be reflected. And Dave, I'm making a parallel. Dave isn't elected, but I think people are, kind of electing him by, cash apps or whatever they send him. But leaders are supposed to reflect the opinions or the trends of their audience. So, I'm not absolutely sure, and it's a whole different show, but I'm not thoroughly convinced after all these years that people elect leaders. They elect people who are reflections of their opinions, etc. And that is a flaw of democracy. Now, I'm all for democracy. I'm not saying we should change it. I'm just saying you need to understand that, people don't elect leaders. In America in 2024, I'm not sure leaders even want to run for office. So, um, you know, you can beat me up for that opinion, but I
No, I
think I
think
can
yeah,
back it up.
I think you're right. I think you, but it just seems that the leaders that are elected, when they want to represent the people, they represent the worst of the people, right? When they decide to ignore the people, they what they get to do is still the worst of what they get to do. So it just seems like it's a bad deal all around.
Um, I'd have to think about that. I just think that, think of Dave Rubin as an entertainer. He's not a thought leader.
Mm.
He's a reflection. He's not a light casting shadows of his own thinking. He is a reflection of his audience.
Mm. And
And
his
think about
audience,
it. He started out on the left. So did
yeah,
Candace Owens.
yeah, yeah. And he keeps telling of this conversion story from Larry Elder, how Larry
Hmm.
Elder quote unquote beat him with facts, and I'm like, okay, yeah,
But the one thing I also want to emphasize, the left does the same thing.
yeah, sure, yeah. There's no
So,
difference.
I think there are differences. I do think that, and I don't know, I'll get beat up for this too. This is why the older I get, I tend to be more a centrist because I really think, and I've, maybe it's my Catholic upbringing, extremes are bad.
Yeah,
Right,
true.
left, it doesn't matter. And I think progressives, that whole horseshoe theory, I think
Mm.
extreme left is as bad as extreme right.
Yes, true, true. You know, somehow the correct position lies somewhere in the middle, right? Not in the extremes. And but it seems like those on the right are just going they're going extreme right. They're just going too far right. Like I okay, I look at myself and say, okay, when I started out this thing on YouTube, I used to be right leaning. Now I can't really say I'm that anymore because I don't know. So was it that I changed or the people that I used to agree with changed? And I don't think I changed. I think it's the people. I think it's
I'm
the
gonna
people I
I,
used to
I'm
agree with.
gonna agree with you on that. Oddly enough, the more more data means better decisions.
Yeah.
So, I started out years ago as I thought Jordan Peterson was, really interesting like 4 years ago. I used to
Me
watch
too.
all his stuff, all those
Me
debates with
too.
Sam Harris, etc. But the more I heard, the more problematic it became.
Yeah.
So there's
And it just got
nothing,
worse.
yeah. So I just think you have more data, you have more experience, you just know more. And it's like, a kid, you're not going to make, good decisions at 7, but you better at 27.
True. True. Yeah. So, which is why I am astonished by some people who just refuse to grow. Like you're stuck in one position, you are not evolving. I'm not saying just change for the sake of changing, right? But
Mhm.
there's new information out there. There's current information out there, and people are just unwilling. They're just unwilling to be affected by it.
Well, see, I'm much more cynical than you are. I think no one has given Dave Rubin a reason to grow.
Mm,
If his money dried up because everybody kind of moved on from what he was thinking,
mm,
you bet he's going to change. You bet he's going to go fishing. He's going to find the
true.
fish. to use a
True.
horrible analogy. But no one has given him a reason to grow. I guarantee you, I won't go deep into, or any farther. If you are a reflection of your audience and you are an entertainer and you know, Dave Rubin will go back left if it becomes more lucrative.
Mm. So it's all about the money.
I wouldn't even say that. Money's a part of it, but I also think, there's no core. There's no core belief. And I'll give you a Ben Shapiro example. When Trump first hit the national stage back in like 2015, Ben
Mm.
Shapiro was totally against Trump.
Mm.
And he wants its power. Okay. Trump became president, and all of a sudden, Ben Shapiro is MAGA. I saw that change.
Mm. So
I
what
mean,
is the
people, it's money, but it's also power. It's also influence. You want to be where, power, having influence.
Mm.
Some people live for that. Now, you know what? And you know me well enough, I'll piss people off and not care that much about it. I have a core. Now, I'm often wrong. However, there's some lines I simply will not cross.
Mm.
If I believe something and strongly, I'll just have to stand my ground on it.
Mm.
Not everyone's like that. And you're kind of the same way. You have a moral core, period.
Mm.
There's some lines you're not gonna cross, even
Mm.
if it's unpopular. And there are people like a Dave Rubin, popularity, having a bunch of people come out against. Look, I'll give you another good example of Dave Rubin. And I watch these people a lot. Um, Dave Rubin would get on Glenn Beck's show and kind of like backpedal and soft soap, hey, I'm gay and I'm adopting children. Dave Rubin caught a bunch of flack from the Glenn Beck, religious evangelical community.
Mm.
Okay, because they don't agree, with his lifestyle. And notice how that never comes up anymore. He tried it. Remember Ben Shapiro on Dave Rubin's show? It was like, hey, would you come to an anniversary party? And Ben Shapiro just told him flat out no.
Mm.
Because I don't, the paraphrase is I don't agree with your lifestyle.
Mm.
That should have been Dave Rubin's wake up call, but it wasn't.
Well, you know, the interests they align in very weird ways, right? They align in very weird ways. So I wanted to ask, what do you think about Candace Owens' comments on Hitler's nationalism? You're muted, Stanley.
It's shocking. Um, if she thinks that Hitler was a nationalist, he was a racist. Okay, he thought everyone in his nationalism should be Aryan, and there are plenty of Jews who were like probably been, German, to put quotes around it, longer than his family.
Yeah.
But he was willing to toss them out just because of race. So she's uninformed. It was There's a reason she didn't get away with that comment. even people on the right had problems with that comment. That's why she got fired from, she and Charlie Kirk parted ways.
Hmm. That's interesting. She's so considering all that's been happening with her vitriol against quote unquote Jewish people now. I keep wondering, is it due to ignorance, extreme ignorance, or is there something much more sinister to Candace's behavior?
It's hard to call stupid people. It's hard to. I don't know. I don't know what she knows. I can only judge her by what she says and her rhetoric. So it could just be she doesn't know any better. Now, the one thing I can say is that, she is, um, I don't know if she's an evangelical, but, she tends to be that way.
Mm,
And, you know, who knows what happened behind the scenes, but, and I'm not going to even go into that, but being the only woman, black woman in that environment, I guarantee you there was something bigger than just October 7th that put a bee in her bonnet.
mm.
There's no way I could imagine like hanging out with Matt Walsh as a black woman and he wouldn't say something like that was just off-putting.
Mm.
So I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but I think it was bigger than just disagreement. And I think Christ is King was just kind of like that comment was kind of like icing on a cake that was already burned.
So, but the thing is that what exactly can mouthwash say to Candace Owens that Candace Owens hasn't said about black people or about women that would be that offensive? I
I
mean,
think Matt Walsh is way more problematic than Candace Owens. If I have to put degrees to badness, I think Matt Walsh is a bigger problem than Candace Owens ever was. But
yeah,
that's my personal opinion.
yeah, it's kind of it's
I can't
possible.
imagine Matt Walsh ever treating a woman and a black woman in particular with respect or as an equal. I that
Mhm.
It's hard for me to imagine he ever would do something like that.
And he's become a bit vocal about this support for Israel stuff, which is in my mind I'm asking how long is Matt Walsh going to be at the Daily Wire now that he's being critical of of Republicans essentially just bending over for Israel.
Well, you know what? Um, Ben Shapiro has no power. He's only a founder of the Daily Wire. He doesn't have actual.
Sure, founders have no powers to hire or fire or know anything within their company. They just
Yeah,
they
he doesn't have any sort of financial stake in his foundership or no. If Matt Walsh goes, it won't be Ben Shapiro that fires him.
interesting. Hey, the clue. How you doing?
Keep up, Chloe.
I want to hop on real quick.
Yeah, he's gonna beat me up. I've been my usual Stanley self on SKC show.
Mm. Be the better Stanley, please. Be the better Stanley.
Well, you know what? Not Clue. SKC and I actually found something we agree on the other day.
Oh, what was
So,
that?
you know what? I don't even remember. It was something, well, it was basically something about, black people do tend, basically, the idea that black people are inherently criminal because most black people don't go to jail.
Yeah.
Most black people have not been to jail. I literally, and dude, I'm 59. I I there is no one that I'm aware of, and certainly there is, but there must be. But I've got a bunch of cousins. I have uncles and aunts.
No, but
I don't know
you know,
anyone in my family that's
so
ever been to jail.
Stanley, it's
Hmm?
probably like this saying, well, not all Muslims are terrorists, but all terrorists are Muslims. you know,
But see, it doesn't work with black people in America because number one, not all black people are criminals.
yeah, but most criminals are.
No, no. See, this is where it gets lost in the wash. You will hear that most crime is committed by black Americans.
Hmm.
That's not true. There's violent crime, there's white collar crime. If you want to go to the apex and say most crime, white people commit more crime than any other group. But
Yeah, but when you break it
that
down to violent
includes
crime,
everything. That includes everything from white collar crime to parking tickets to jaywalking. Now, most black people may commit violent crime, but you see this big generality that people like to make, it just doesn't work.
yeah,
Most black people don't commit bank fraud. Bank fraud is a crime, is it not?
yeah. So, but
Okay,
when
but
people talk about,
my point is most black people get don't do financial white collar crime. It's
yeah,
mostly
but they
white
do
people.
violent crime. They do violent crime.
Okay, violent crime. You put a qualifier on crime. You can't just say most black people commit crime because that's not correct. You have
Yeah,
to
that's not
put a
correct.
qualifier on it.
But why is that so? Why is violent crime more predominant with black people?
No idea. Something to do with poverty and history.
Okay. I mean,
And you may think I'm being fancy, but if I go to Kentucky, and even if I go to Kentucky,
mm,
most of the numbers you see are per capita crime. Okay, white people in America commit more violent crime if you're just going to look at numbers
mm,
without applying any sort of analysis or statistics. Statute numbers, white
mm.
people commit more murders than black people do.
As absolute numbers, yeah, but as a percentage
Yeah,
of the
absolute numbers.
as a
So
percentage
you
of the
can go
population.
either way. All I'm saying is that people tend not to be very specific. Now, if we're talking per capita, of course, and I don't know why that is. I could probably find out, I could make a guess, but I think the percentage of black people in poverty per capita is higher than, a lot of other groups. But again, we're not talking absolute numbers. We're talking, percentage of population.
Yep. So for me, with things like this, I think where the right gets it wrong is to just make these blanket statements,
Yeah.
and where I think the
But the
left gets
left
it wrong.
does it too. The
Yeah,
left
yeah.
does it
Where I
too.
think the left gets it wrong is to almost ignore that this is happening. Like just say, no, it's not true, right? It's okay to acknowledge something and then to explain why it's happening, right? Rather than to just say, oh
Hmm.
no, you can't say anything about it, or saying something about it is
Totally agree.
racist, or you know, it, it doesn't it doesn't help the conversation. It doesn't help trying to find solutions to the problem. And the idea that America is so balkanized along racial lines that even breaking these things down by race is
Mhm.
in a way problematic to me. I mean, this is not, there's no separate country called Black America. There is a country called America, right? And
Well, oh, you bring up several. That's a very layered analysis, and you finish it because that's another pet peeve of mine.
yeah, so there's a country, populated by different peoples, right? And the the pathologies is not just going to be affecting one group of people, and you're segregating yourself. No, it should be seen as an American thing, and the solution should be an American problem rather than
One
a
hundred
problem.
percent. 100%. And we go wrong in America when we treat, say, violent crime as a black problem, and
Mhm.
everyone does that instead of an American problem.
Yep, yep. So, Stanley, I was showing my I was showing my poem collections, which is going to go live June 1st earlier. I don't know if you saw it on Kindle. I'll still put it on paperback, but I just decided to publish this now. Have had these poems for years and I haven't published them. And anyone that wants to get this can get it. It's available for pre-order. But June
So
1st, I'm going to do it.
it's on Amazon.
Yeah, it's on Amazon Kindle. Yeah, so
Consider it bought. So
thank you.
yeah, well, I mean, I you know gotta support the content creators and the
Yeah.
artists.
So guys, please check it out. And my other novel, the link is in the description of the video. Go check it out, read
And
it, and
my
give
problem
me
is
feedback.
how am I going to get autographed copies from you?
True. Don't worry. Soon enough, I'll find a way to come to the US, even if it's for all holidays. And when I do come around, I have to. The couple of people I have to see. I have to see you. I have to see Steve. I have to see Wolf. I have to see Dr. Mason. Those are my people, right? Those are my people.
Well, I tell you what, we talked years ago about, when my son graduates from
Yeah,
college, um, I will figure out how to make that happen, and you have to bring the whole family over. We'll figure it out.
yeah. That would be fantastic. That would be fantastic. So I think this should be enough for the stream. Thank you very much, Stanley, for coming. Blaine, thanks for
Yeah.
coming. Harry says, "Do we get a discount? Because we know you're here." Well, I think Amazon has something like that. I'll look at it later on to see if there's something for a discount. But yeah, I think that's possible, right? And
No, I think that Blaine makes the point about fatherless homes. They're more white
yeah, I
fatherless
want to
homes.
respond to that.
So that's just this is the problem that I don't think fatherless homes, if you want to go by statistics, yeah, there are more fatherless homes, but there's several reasons for that. And if you go back and look at it, fatherless homes in the white community are way up from the 60s too. White people are catching up. So I think that's kind of a milk toast analysis.
Yeah. So Blaine, I'll be doing my next stream weekend, Friday or Saturday, right? But I think I should be able to put that up before then. Anyway, Stanley, thanks everyone for coming.
Yes, sir.
Like, share,
Enjoyed it.
subscribe, check out my novels and my um, poetry book and all that. And I'll catch you guys in another live stream. Yeah, it's bye for now.